Hello, I'm Trina and I work for the Information Services Department with the Belleville Public Library. This month's craft is a cardboard loom weaving project. With your materials, you will have received 3 skeins of yarn, different colors, and a loom template. Now, at home, you will need to gather a piece of cardboard, scissors, tape, and a craft needle or a needle with an opening that's large enough to thread the yarn. First, you'll cut out the outer edge of your loom template. On the outer edge of the template, there are notches. You want to make sure that you cut them all out so that your finished product will look like this. Now you take your cardboard box and you cut off a piece that's large enough for making your loom. You want to trace your loom template to the cardboard until you end up with something that looks like this. You want to use a ruler or a measuring tape to find the center and make a small hole with your needle tip or a tip of your scissors, like so. Thread your needle with your first color of yarn. Once you have your yarn completely through the hole, you want to knot the end so that it will stay in place. Then you tape your tail to the loom underneath. Now you want to wrap your yarn around notch 1 like so. And then to notch 2, and then to notch 3. To notch 4, then down to notch 5, wrap it around to notch 6, and so on and so forth. Now once your loom is all notched, you will have yarn that has no notch to wrap around. Then you'll want to take this piece and wrap it around to the next notch, pull it halfway down, and then start taking the end of your yarn and putting it under every yarn.
When you wrap the wool around the single notch and to the notch next door, you will have double wool on the front of the loom. but that is the way it's intended. Next, you'll be taking that wool and weaving it under every single piece of the warp, either clockwise or counterclockwise. As you get to the end, and you've done a full circle of it, you will be pulling it taut. Pulling it taut centers the warp.
And now you want to pull tight until you get a nice tight knot. Then once it's under all the pieces, you pull it gently to the center. Once all your notches are full, your loom is now warped and ready to weave.
Take the remaining wool that you use for the warp and start weaving it. You will be making an over and under pattern. Start with the closest piece on the warp and weave under it, going over the next one and then under the next, and so on. Pull your wool taut every so often so that the center of the warp is pulled in tightly. It takes a few woven rows to be created before you start to see the pattern develop. Keep the weave pulled as tightly as possible. Here you can see the weave taking place, and you can see what happens as you pull it nice and taut.
As you continue going over and under, gently pull the yarn you are weaving as tightly into the center as possible as you weave.
Leave about a 3-inch tail with this yarn to attach to the next piece of yarn. Take the next piece of colored yarn, run it alongside the tail, and make an over and under knot. Continue the weave, tucking the knot under the weave as you go.
Once you get to the tail, you can take that tail and just gently tuck it under your existing weave, like so. And as you go along, it will be woven into the pattern.
Here you can see where the knot is as the weave is done. And you can see how the weave is done over top to keep it tucked under. You can change colors as often as you like, as long as you have 1 to 2 foot segments of wool to work with.
When you are close to finish, carry on alternating your colors until you have 1 inch remaining of your warp with no weave. Next, you are going to turn your loom over to the back and take your scissors and cut the warp yarn.
Now that you've finished your weave, it's time to remove it from the loom. Take off 1 notch section at a time, cut it, and then tie it into a knot.
Next, you want to loosen the tape tails on the back of the cardboard loom. Carefully pull the weave off the loom.
Trim your tied off warp just above the knot. The knot keeps the weave in place. And here you have your finished weave.
If you're interested in finding more resources on how to weave, we have Weaving Made Easy by Liz Gibson, 17 projects using a simple loom. Or we also have Learn to Weave with Ann Field. You can find both of these and more on the second floor of the Belleville Public Library and Art Gallery.